this, everybody is starting to want to be healthy mode around here. And so it was just really good for our area to kind of dive into this. But I got my oils, had my baby, and I just remember, again, I don't have a diffuser, which is kind of what you do when you don't know what to do yet. So I just remember, I don't even know what we were doing with them. I think we were just rubbing them on our feet and like, but he, oh my goodness, you guys, he was so thrilled. He was like, it smells good again. And I just remember his brother, who is Kristen, your upline, Kristen's husband. I remember his brother walking in to see the new baby, and his brother's just like him and being like, what is that smell? Dude, it smells so good in here. And I remember them having my kits and being like, dude, smell this one. No, dude, you got to smell this one. This one's awesome. And it's so funny to think back on that. And now, like 4 years later, be doing this with Kristen and be in this business and all of that. We had no idea what was going on. But God did. So anyway, we just kind of used them and I loved it. But the Clariderm majorly sold me because it was awesome for healing after the baby. And then I think I just got on ER because I was on the site and I was like, this seems like a good deal. So I just got on ER and signed up, and I ordered Ningxia. And then that was it, like forever and ever. Amen. So, and it gave me energy, and here I was, I just had my 5th kid and I started feeling better, and I had dizzy spells off and on despite all the work that I had done with my adrenals, and they finally stopped that summer after I started Ningxia Red. So it was just a huge, huge big deal for me. So that was kind of, and then from there, I was just happy little camper using my products, having no idea what was going on. And, just like oiling myself, not having a diffuser. And meanwhile, I invited some people to another class that LaDonna came down and taught. And 2 girls went and they signed up. And they were my 2 first legs. And they are still 2 of my top legs. I had no idea at the time what was even happening. I just repeated what I had seen, which was to give them my member number. And I remember they called me and said, retail or wholesale? And I said, I don't know. I did wholesale. I wanted to save money. And they were like, I'm going to do retail. No, I'm going to do wholesale. And so they signed up, and that was literally my first sharing experience. So they're my 2. One of them I knew pretty well. One of them I didn't know as well. They're married to guys that we were in the college class at church with. So that was my first 2 signups. And then what happened was they both decided to have LaDonna come down and teach classes for them. So I'm oblivious. They have LaDonna come down. I invite some of my family members, like his mom, my sister, to that class, and they sign up. And then I get a check, like a $500 check. And I was like, $500 checks don't always come in the mail. So that seemed like a good thing. And that was kind of that accidental check that so many Young Living people talk about, where you don't know what's happening. And I think for you guys now, we see that less often because there's just more of this that is intentional and that we're talking about. But man, at the time that I enrolled, nobody knew about the business. Nobody was talking about the business. You just got in, you shared with people, and then all of a sudden you started slowly figuring out what was going on behind the scenes. So that's kind of what we knew, and it was what we did. We signed up some family members and friends, and then at the end of that year, so when I'd been using them about 9 months or so, I think I hit senior star, but I didn't know that and didn't know what it meant. Meanwhile, Callie tried to stop her ER. LaDonna called her and said, you're an executive. You really need to place your ER order or you're not going to get checks. And Kelly was like, I've been getting checks. And like, she didn't know what was going on. So LaDonna basically forced Callie to stay on ER because she was an executive. And then she told Kristen, you had this class, you need to get on ER. So Kristen got on ER, my leg, Kristen Demery. And so I look at the end of the year and I'm a senior star. And then I think what I did was I posted a picture of Breathe Again on Facebook. That's what I remember doing. And said, I love this stuff. It's awesome. And I probably said it cures, treats, and whatever, about 15 things, because that's what we did. And then, and I had all these people asking me, because this was just brand new. So I said, I cannot talk to all these people that are asking me to tell them about oils. So I'm going to have a class, which made me sick at the thought, because I didn't know what I was doing. But I just said, you know what, I'm going to tell the stories that LaDonna told me, and I'm just going to invite people over. So I put out the class on Facebook. I had literally hundreds of people respond. And then I had, 20 come that day, something like that. And so the night before my daughter got sick, she had febrile seizures at that point whenever she ran a fever. So she was running febrile seizures that night. I had her in bed with me, which was terrifying. And I would just not sleep because I would be waiting to feel her moving. And then I was doing that. The other kids were getting sick. I didn't get a chance to finish getting ready. It was literally as bad as you can imagine it possibly being for your first class. And, but LaDonna called me that morning because she knew I was going to teach. We did a lot of PowerPoints early on. We were killer. Oh. So I had gotten her PowerPoint from her, which had butterflies in the background and lots of bullet points. So we were killing it. And so that's what I had to work with. But she called me and she told me Deborah Rayburn's story, which was that her husband had suddenly died and left her $100,000 in debt. He had made a recent investment that left her $100,000 in debt with her only daughter. And she cried out to the Lord and said, I don't know what to do. And he said, I've already given you your way of escape from this situation. It's the oils. And she said, we had the oils and he had kind of used them in his chiropractic business, but she didn't know anything about the business side of Young Living. And the Lord just clearly told her, this is how you are going to provide for your daughter. So she called her friends and said, I'm having an oil class. I'm a widow. You have to come. Oh. And they all came. And they all signed up, and she said, now you're all having a class. When is it? And so she put literally like 30 classes on the calendar that day at her class. And that was the beginning of her oil business. And she's our way upline Royal Crown Diamond today. So LaDonna told me that story, and she said, I believe that this class that you're teaching today is the beginning of your Deborah Rayburn story. And she said, I feel like that she and Carrie Shepherd, who's another one of our uplines, have been praying that God would raise up a community of young women who, instead of having to, like LaDonna and these older women, instead of having to clean up the mess they had already made in their health and their children's health, that they would be able to do it from the beginning so that their children had this from infancy and from the womb. And they had been just praying and praying over that, because at that point, Young Living was primarily older people. And so that's what they had been asking God for. And she said, we believe that God has answered this prayer through you. And we think that this class is the beginning of the fulfillment of what he has promised us. And I just remember, it's one of those moments, like at the time, you're panicked and you're trying to get ready to teach your class. And you're like, this is all really cool, and I hope it's true. But I didn't have any grasp of how big what she was talking about was. And now 4 years down the road, I can totally see the fulfillment of that prophecy over us. And it chokes me up, thinking about her taking that time to do that and just how the Lord has brought that to pass. So I had a terrible class. I closed horribly. No, I didn't close. If y'all have ever heard me talk about this, my close in the beginning was, so that's oils. I hope you like them like I do. And if you ever want to know anything else, you can call me. That was it. Did not tell them how to order, did not tell them where to get them, did not tell them anything at all because I was not going to pressure my friends. So fortunately, it was my pretty good friends that were there. This was my very hot market that was at this class. And one of them was there with her mom, and she was like, can you just show me how to order right now? Because I know I want some. So is there a way I could just get them instead of having to wait? And I was like, yeah, I could show you. I could totally show you how to order them. And so we sat on the couch and ordered hers. And I actually, for some reason, thought enough to then use her member number to enroll her mom. And so that was, there they were. And fortunately, a bunch of people stayed around and watched that happen so they could actually know how to order. So that was the first. And so all those people ended up signing up, but they trickled in over a very long period of time, which I don't recommend you doing. A close is much better. And that was kind of how my next several classes went, were me non-closing. I would non-close, and then I would send them an email afterwards that basically told them how to do it. But I had a lot of signups. It's one way to do it anyway. It just took a really long time. So we were kind of trickling. But then Young Living ran the first voucher promo I had ever seen in February. And we went nuts contacting all these people that had, been waiting to order because we don't know how to close. And we signed up so many people with those vouchers. It was not like where we had one voucher. It was anybody who ordered by the end of February got $20 off kind of a deal. And we were contacting them all, and we were excited, and we were calling each other, and we were like, hey, one more's down, and like doing all this stuff. And we were like, this is awesome. We thought we were great. So, but I hit executive that first month that I taught that class. And so one of my executive legs was my mom by herself, not a leg, my mom. And she really liked the oils, and she ordered them for I'm one of 6 brothers and sisters. So she ordered them for like everybody else in my family who was not signed up yet. And so then somebody put me in this business group. LaDonna put me in this business group called Silver and Six. And I saw the aroma complete, and light came down from heaven and shone on it, and angels sang and harps played. And I was like, I am getting that. And I really think that was it. That was the moment that put me into the business. And I think that something that's really important to remember with Young Living people is that we are out of the ordinary, in that we are very, very product driven. And in most companies, other types of things are going to be a bigger factor, like cash incentives or other kind of recognition. In Young Living, people want to win more product, which says so much about who we are as a company and what kind of product we have, because that is just so different. But I think that that's the case more often than not. And I was a true representation of that. I was so driven to get that kit. So I figured out what that meant and determined to go to Silver, which meant I was going to have to find a new leg that was not just my mom, because I probably was not going to get my mom to order $4,000 a month. Mm-hmm. So I started working basically with just those 2 girls that had signed up. Kristen and Trina had signed up that year before, and who had LaDonna come teach. And we just started teaching like crazy. And I never taught for the same person really twice. I would just teach a class, and they would invite people, and I would go and teach. And then from that class, somebody else would ask me to teach at their house, and I would go to their house and teach. And then at that class, somebody else would ask me to teach, and I would go there and teach. And so I just taught classes for different people. And I taught, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 a month, probably. I was probably teaching at least once a week, and sometimes more. And then those people were going on and starting to teach. And it was just duplicating. It was just everybody teaching classes. We were not online at all. We were just teaching classes and just inviting our friends and saying, we were calling people up and saying, hey, Can I bring you something to try? I noticed that you were sneezing like crazy when we were at the, game yesterday. You want to come to my class and I can tell you about lavender. It was just that. And plain and simple, we were running around to people who were sick and taking them oils. We were so excited about the results that we just kept kind of wanting to take them to people and see if they were going to work for them too. And every time I would get super nervous, I was like, this is going to be the time it doesn't work. And we'd take it and then they'd call you, it worked. And I was like, yes, it worked. So it was awesome. And meanwhile, I was ordering a ton of product. And so I was getting all kinds of product experience. And then I was just reading a ton of books, like the Pocket Reference, the Desk Reference, Dr. Deardiff's books. I was reading everything I could get my hands on so that I could work with my people. And so we started a little Facebook group for support. And then 4 months later, I hit silver. And then I heard people talking about this thing called convention, and I didn't go that year. I was like, I don't even know what that is. And so I didn't go to convention as a silver. And then I don't even remember paying a lot of attention to what they were doing. I remember them. I didn't know that many people that were doing it. So then I was like, well, I want to hit gold. So the same month I hit silver, I signed up the girl that ended up being my gold leg. So just a reminder, it's not always the person that you think it's going to be. Because, I had my third leg I thought it was going to be. Wasn't. It was the girl I signed up the week I hit silver. She became my gold leg. And then I didn't have a lot of strategy. I got in the virtual office. I watched and read every comp plan thing I could find. The comp plan changed that month that I started building. So lots of people didn't know anything about it. It was brand new. And I saw that rising star bonus and I was like, that thing, I think that's what I'm supposed to do. And I just built my structure for the rising star bonus. And I put mutual friends under mutual friends. Because remember, I'm working with people I've met. It's people I know, people I'm teaching classes for, and it was just very plain and simple. If you're hosting the class, the people who come to the class go under you. Like there wasn't a lot of strategy to it. It was just very honest, loving on people. Somebody would come and talk to me who went to church with one of my friends, and I would say, can we sign you up over here? These are all of my girls that go to church together are in this one leg, and we would sign her up in there. So it was just very kind of organic, I guess, but I was still looking at that basic rising star structure. And then so it was 5 months from silver to gold. And that was, I worked really hard. That's when baby steps came to be, was in that 5 months from silver to gold, because Callie, I still have the emailed me and said, hey, I see you're like a silver, which I think is cool. And can I help you? And so that was my first contact with her in terms of, or sponsor or upline. There was like a Facebook group, but we had no resources. I mean, the only resource I remember having is the butterfly PowerPoint. Mm-hmm. So like no resources, no anything. There was like a business group and a product support group. The product support group, we started moving away from because they were very, very vocal and what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of volatile about both sugar and vaccines. And it was getting talked about all the time. And so the newer people coming in were like, and I said, we probably need a safer place if we're going to attract young moms than this explosive discussion. So we started moving away to our own support group because of that. And it was mine and Callie's people. So I've kind of always had Callie's people in my mix, even though she was my upline. And we started building a website, and our original website was hugely popular because it was like you could look up earache and it told you all the oils to use, and fever, and it told you all the oils to use. And we just basically used it to answer the questions. So you can imagine when compliance locked down, they saw our site and probably gagged or something. It was literally everything that non-compliance could possibly be. So, but it made us a big household name because everyone loved it. And it got us some cold signups, which started coming in. But that was never a huge part of our enrollments. And a lot of those people didn't go anywhere. Lindsay Leaf is our claim to fame from Baby Steps website enrollments. She came in because she was searching the internet one night it was either earache or something. And she found us. I think she's the only one. So I'm trying to think. So from there, we kind of built that, started doing graphics, started making a name for ourselves, and then hit gold in October, then hit platinum. Oh, and then we did our first boot camp, business builder boot camp that December. That was the first training. We had never had any business training, so we decided it might be good to teach people something. So I was a gold. We got together, filmed some videos, made our boot camp. I hit platinum in February and diamond in April. And then 6 months later hit crown. So that was, and right then between diamond and crown is when compliance came into the picture, and we started shifting everything. And it really required us taking everything we had done down and remaking every resource we had ever made. And so it was a huge time. And so a lot of the guys, if you see my team, I almost have two teams. I have you guys who are newer and exploding now, and I have the team who exploded a few years ago. And they've worked really, really hard a few years ago. And they started that kind of initial thing. And I mean, they were growing so fast. So it's kind of, I have to work on sustaining that half of the team and then supporting this half of the team who are basically in two totally different places. And then there's the people all in between. So that's been 2 years now since I hit crown. Royal's coming. Yeah. And that, I think, is pretty much how we got here.
John, what about you? Can you share for our awesome guys that are on the call kind of your perspective maybe, and then how you've come in and where you fit into all of this?
Yeah, totally. So, as Courtney said, we had always kind of done the natural health thing, right? We're having babies at home and doing natural remedies for the kids. And so it was a very natural thing. When she started using the oils, I mean, I was like, great.
And bring it on. Never liked medicine.
Yeah. I've never really, I haven't taken Tylenol or Advil in, 15 years. So it's never really been a thing that I did. So I it wasn't a huge jump for me, right, to kind of get into the oils. And I had done cleanses, and, my mom was into healthy eating, and I ate all kinds of crazy stuff as a kid. And so crazy, like, health stuff, right? So she started bringing in the oils, and, I love the way they smelled. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. Let's do it. And I was working, and I've been doing tech startups for about 10 years. So my work schedule was crazy, and we started a company, and we moved to Austin and hired a bunch of people. And so that was kind of happening while she was doing the oils. And
right before.
Right before. Right. And then we sold that company, and we ended up back in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then that's when we started texting the mail. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And So then she showed me the comp plan, and that was, and we had, as she said before, we had kind of done other multi-level things, and we're like, this is stupid. We're not going to do this. And but she showed me the comp plan, and I mean, it was just, it was amazing, right? It was so different than other companies, and it seemed very doable. And I mean, they paid a huge percentage to the people, marketing. So,
and we read 4-year career.
Yeah, 4-year career. And so I guess from a business standpoint, I mean, I'm kind of an entrepreneurial type guy. So that wasn't a huge jump for me either. So she said, hey, this is, she read a lot about the comp plan, and she was like, this is my plan. I'd like to do it. And man, I was in. So yeah, but I was still working. I was taking on client work. And I was involved a little bit in, she'd say, hey, I've got this situation, like, what should I do? Or, from more of a business, standpoint, and just for, I guess, some advice. And then I would keep the kids, she's having a bunch of classes. So I would keep the kids at night, and we'd go over to grandparents' houses, or, and my schedule it was easy to work that in most of the time, because I had a flexible schedule. So yeah, we just, she really kind of dove in and started working hard at it. And, I think from day one, I was just pretty in, and I mean, we saw results pretty quickly. And so, we thought it was worth the time investment, to do that. So
at some point, I don't remember exactly when, I'd have to go back and look. I think I might've been close to gold, but he did a spreadsheet for me, and he was projected out my growth the way I had been growing. And I mean, at that point we were growing, what were we, 30% a month, 40% a month? Yeah, we were going by 30 and 40% a month, checks, OGV, and members. So it was nuts. And so he projected that out for me, and said, okay, in 4 months you'll be here, in 6 months you'll be here. And I was like, ooh. And we both kind of did and that looks good.
So keep doing that.
So that was a huge thing for us, to start that projection process, and just at our rate of growth, what we were going to see. And for a long time, it completely followed or surpassed that rate of growth that we had projected. And then around that time that we hit Crown and all that, it started slowing down a little bit. But it was crazy to watch. And I think that was really good for him, to run those numbers, and for me to see those numbers. It kept us at it when we were tired. And, he was working a lot at night. So basically we would just put the kids in bed. He would go to his computer, I would go to my computer. And we just did that, especially for that 15 months from executive to diamond. We just worked, side by side, but doing different things, because he had 6 clients and I had my stuff. But it was such a huge thing for me to have that, even if he wasn't helping me in the business, just his emotional and spiritual and physical support in that made all the difference. Because I just can't imagine carrying that load by myself and not having his support in that. So it was definitely huge during that time.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, here's 2 last questions for you, because we don't want to keep you too long because you're busy people. But first question, what is one thing, as you look at your life now and compare it to your life before Young Living, like from a business perspective, what do you feel like is 1 or 2 things that you're like is so totally different, and just, I guess the way your life looks now? And as you look back, like, was all that work? Because it is a lot of hard work. Like, it does, yeah. So, that has made it worth it to be like, all right, it was worth putting the time and the energy into that.
Yeah, totally. I think that, a big thing for us is our time, right? That's always the thing. In my work and in Courtney's work, having more time has always been our why, I guess, and the thing that we're working towards. And so I think just like money, right? If you want to invest money into something for it to pay off down the road, we felt like investing our time into this was going to pay off down the road. And so, and it turned out to be a really great investment. And so that's kind of how we looked at it, is just, that we feel like it's worth it. And I mean, it was, we worked a lot. We sacrificed things, and we were at home, and honestly, we sacrificed a lot of sleep. We would work late into the night, and, kids would be up in the morning, and, but that was, and it was hard. We spent a lot of time, and there was a lot of effort, and a lot of days we didn't want to do it. And, but we just, we just kept going back to, hey, this is going to pay off. And we were measuring that. And I think that's a super important thing. And, so yeah, that's kind of how we, I guess, that's something we, that really turned out well. Right.
And we were in the habit of taking risks. He had been taking risks for years in his job situation. And I think that was a huge mental hurdle that we had already pushed through. He had been taking risks so that we could have the best situation where he was free to work at home or whatever. And that had always been our decision over making more money, had been him being free to be with us. And so that was an easy thing to see, I guess, in this business, because it was something that we had already been looking for and already made decisions around. And so it was just one more way to do that. But I told them at my class the other night, it even required making sacrifices in terms of our kids. And I think that a lot of people look at that and think that's wrong. But what I told them at my class was, yes, there were times I was at home, but yes, there were a lot more times where I had to spend time working or maybe going to teach a class or whatever. But 2 years down the road, when we spent last fall 2.5 months traveling, where our kids had 24/7 of our attention and got to travel the entire Northeast, and then for another month and a half this spring while we got to do the Southwest, I don't think anybody felt sorry for my kids. And it's like you said, it's an investment, and we knew that's what it was, and we didn't make any sacrifices that we didn't feel like were right. We were still there. Like, they've never had to be cared for by anybody else. And as I started to make changes, I brought in somebody to clean, but not somebody to take care of my kids. Like, to me, that was important. I said, yes, I'll turn over the cleaning. That's not something I need to have to spend my time on, but I do want to be the one that takes care of my kids. And I have been. And then I was Crown Diamond before I got a work day. That's when he started taking the kids, and I started taking a day to go work so that the other days I could be a lot more focused. And I really encourage that. But a lot, too, of the reason that we had to put the time investment in that we did is because we didn't have anything to work with. And so you guys are in a totally different place. And our goal right now in this business is that you spend less time working to build your business than we did. Our goal is to spend our time at this point creating things that allow you to do as the most productive things you can in the smallest amount of time, so that you are taking away the least from your family, from your kids, from the other things that you want to do with the most results. And literally everything that we're doing is so that you guys can do that. And our goal is that we can take the experience that we have both from this business and from previous businesses, we can hand it to you, and then you have the ability to build a thriving business on small amounts of time. And that's just a huge goal. And I think in the beginning we were doing everything. And now we know so much about duplication and making it simple and doing the important things and not all the other things. And I mean, we were literally just like throwing stuff against the wall to see if it stuck because we knew nothing. And now We've gotten training, we've gotten outside training, we've read, we've learned, we've talked to other people. And so now I just think it's so much more streamlined than what we were working with. And there were so many hours that had to be put in excess. Like that whole thing I told you, I teach a class, they go away, I spend all this time later explaining to all of them how to order. That's completely not time efficient.
Right.
And so there's so many ways like that we know now way better how to work with this, where it can be still hard work, but just more efficient and more duplicatable than it was when we were doing it.
Yeah. And, a big thing that kind of hit me was, we had back at my startup, we were funded from a company in Silicon Valley that had a guy named Sean Parker and a guy named Reid Hoffman. And they were the guys that took PayPal and Facebook and LinkedIn to the world. And these guys are considered marketing geniuses of our time. I would sit in boardrooms with these guys and they would talk about viral growth and they would talk about marketing. And so as I started becoming more involved, once I kind of wrapped up my business stuff, as I got more involved with Courtney and just learning more about the business and what it worked, it was like, wait, this needs to be treated like other businesses, right? And these marketing principles apply. And so we really started working on applying those principles to our team. And a lot of the stuff you guys are seeing now, is us trying to implement those things. And so, and Courtney, just the time it takes for someone to sign up and then get someone else to sign up, if you can reduce that time of that life cycle, that is what creates viral growth. And so anyway, those are some of the things we're really working on. And like Courtney's saying, we want to give you guys those tools and everyone doesn't have to figure that stuff out and do it themselves. We can take something that we've learned and what we've learned from others, and then everyone can benefit from it and use it. So,
but as a general rule, I get up Monday mornings and Sunday nights are a great example. I can remember Sunday nights just having that little sad sinking feeling because he was going to go to work, and I loved the weekend. I loved having him around, but it's funny because I still, even though we've been doing this for years now, I still on Sunday nights and Monday mornings, just all the time am flooded with, this is my life. Like, this is not vacation. This is my life where he doesn't go away he does. He gets up and leaves and goes to the office if he wants to. And he works on things and we're very busy and we're very productive, but we choose all of it. And it is the most incredible thing to just be able to choose those things. And we realized at one point that we had given more in a year than we had made in previous years. Stuff like that just blows my mind, and it never gets old. Like, I never look up and go, oh yeah, I forgot. This is kind of cool. It never feels like that. I feel like crying every time I think about it, that we get to live this way, that we get to be with our children as much as we are, that they get to spend so much time with him. Like, everybody goes, is it, the baby's coming, will that be hard? And I'm like, no, he's a complete and total part of our life. All I do is go get in the bed and take care of the baby, and he does what he totally knows how to do, which is handle everything else. And it is such an incredible feel. And I can't believe our kids get this opportunity. I can't believe the travel, the time freedom. And it's worth, I would put 10 times in to get this of what we put in. And because I really just can't imagine ever going back. And I don't think we ever will. We will make whatever choices we need to make to stay in this type of a time freedom situation.
Okay, not gonna cry. Okay, last question. So all these awesome new builders that are like, some of them have been around a little longer, some of them are just brand new, checking stuff out. What is one thing that if you could say, I mean, besides doing your awesome, do you guys know that they created the 30-day business plan? So amazing. We're like having such a good time doing that this month. Oh, everybody's laughing. But what, besides that, like, what is one thing that you'd be like, man, this is like one amazing key. If you could get this is going to be something that's going to set you ahead in the game?
I would say to pick how much time you have to put into your business. So if you want to move super rapidly, then that's going to need to be several hours a day or a lot of hours a week. Or if you only have a certain amount of time, like an hour a day or 3 hours a week, find what that is and own it. And then say, it's not that you have to work a ton. You don't have to work 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week, but you do have to be consistent. So however many hours you can work, consistently work them every day, every week. What that looks like for you, because I've watched so many people, they'll throw a bunch of time at it and go away. Throw a bunch of time at it and go away. And what happens is there's no momentum in that. And you start going up and you go back and you go up and you go back. And people don't take you seriously and your team doesn't take you seriously. And then there's all kinds of conflict because you come back in and say, here I am, I'm your leader. And one of the Royal Crown Diamonds said this one time and I loved it. She said, you should never have a reason to say, I'm back, ever. Because you should never be totally gone. And it isn't that you have to be like accessible 24/7 and all that kind of stuff. When I traveled last fall and this spring, I was totally with my family, but I wasn't gone. You guys knew where I was. I was posting. I was answering questions. I didn't disappear. I was there. And I just checked when it worked for us to do that. And so I just think that is the worst mistake people make, because they sign a bunch of people up and then they leave them out to dry and those people fall off. And if you come back later and say, hey, I'm the person that signed you up, it's way more awkward. And meanwhile, they've forgotten about their first love of the oils. And like John said, you totally lost that viral circle because you had them and they were excited. And if you had just stayed there, you can create what we were seeing in the beginning, which is them immediately inviting people and those people signing up and those people inviting people and those people signing up. But man, if you come and go, that momentum just will not be there. So it's not about how much time, it's about how consistent that time is.
Yeah, and I would say too, I think that we always have to remember, like, this is pretty simple, right? At the end of the day, all these methods, all these things, right? At the end of the day, it's our people ordering oils, right? And it's our existing people ordering and our new people ordering. Those are really the two things that matter. And so I think a lot of times we can get caught up in all these things we're trying to do, but if they don't affect the number of orders, then it's not necessarily a good use of time. And so, and it can feel like you're working, but if you're working and it's not changing those two things, then the method should probably change. And so, but at the end of the day, it's simple. It's we think it's through relationships, and and what's so great about it is that the product is so amazing. And so you feel good about getting people to use them, right? And so anyway, yeah, I think just keeping it simple and remembering at the end of the day, it's just about ordering and using products.
And the only way that you know if your activities are affecting that is what he's taught me, which is you have to be tracking it. If you aren't writing stuff down, like numbers, and you aren't paying attention, when I teach online, nobody really signs up. But when I teach one-on-ones, every person I have a one-on-one with signs up. Well, you know what? If you don't sign a lot of people up at classes or online and every one-on-one signs up, quit doing everything else and only do one-on-ones. That's awesome. There is no magic in classes. Classes are when you have so many people asking you that you can't get to all of them. And so you say, could we just all do this together for time efficiency's sake and have a class? That's what classes are for. And so, one-on-ones are great. Whatever your method is, if you sign people up online, but you get in person and you never sign anybody up, don't mess with it. Just do the online stuff. Whatever it is that works for you, but you can't know that unless you're writing down what's working and writing down what's not working and paying attention and tracking those numbers.
Yeah, that's good. All right, well, if anybody has do you have time for like 5 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does anybody, now's your time to get golden wisdom.
We're going to tell you amazing things.
Diamond wisdom.
Oh, thank you, Gabby. That's so sweet. We're so grateful to have you guys. I hope I say this enough, but I mean, we completely understand that there is no success without all of you. And especially you guys on Kristen's team and Casey's team, Nicole's team. You guys are like a breath of fresh air right now. Because like I said, I have 2 teams and working with the older ones that are tired, it's hard. It's a hard thing. And you guys are such a breath of fresh air. And you guys, particularly Nicole, is leading you so beautifully in a way to listen to people, she's so humble and willing to learn and willing to implement what is handed to her. And you guys just have a total golden gem. I've watched her adjust because she has that red mentality to just kind of do it herself. And she has adjusted for y'all so that you have something to look at and that you can duplicate what she's doing. You can duplicate that humility and that simplicity. And she's constantly making those shifts that are hard with her personality so that you know best what to do. So just pay attention. She is a girl to watch. She knows what she's doing. Her heart is enormous. And I see in her, I mean, this is real crown diamond material right here, you guys. So you keep just doing what she tells you to do, and you're going to be in a good place. God has put you in an amazing team all the way up. I mean, you guys have like team. It's insane. So just keep listening to what she has to say. It is worth listening to.
Well, thank you for those kind words. We're just copying what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for the business plan that you guys put together this month. It's been really good. We really are grateful. So
I'm so glad.
Awesome.
I'm excited for convention. A lot of these people are going to be there, so it's going to be super. That's
awesome. Yeah, the next year I did go to convention because I knew what it was. And so I was a diamond at my first convention. And the first event before convention started was a diamond breakfast. So the first Young Living thing I ever walked into was a diamond breakfast. And the first person I walked up to was Deborah Rayburn. And so I was like, this is Deborah Rayburn. I was like, play it cool. I was like, hello, Deborah Rayburn. I totally maybe know who you are. It was so funny. Yeah, that was crazy. But convention is awesome. You are going to love it.
We have like 5 or 6 couples that are coming, which is
awesome.
That's so fun. Well, I'm sure John didn't make it this year, but I bet he goes with me next year because we got to walk as royals on the stage. So I'm sure he's coming next year. It'll be fun.
All right. Well, we'll let you guys go. Thank you again so much for sharing your story and just spending time with us. We really appreciate this.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, have a good night. Thank you all of you guys. Awesome friends for being here. I love you so much. And we'll see y'all on Facebook.
All right. Y'all have a good night.
Night.